I just finished reading this book, and the author is a civil engineer. The book is about an outbreak of typhoid into the Philadelphia waterworks. I want to know how you can be a civil engineer and a writer, so I decided to ask her about it. Let's go. Hi, Miss Joanne.
Hi. How are you?
Good, thanks. So tell me a little bit about yourself. When you were my age, what did you like to do? What kind of student were you?
So you're ninth grade, right? So
Yep.
you're a freshman in high school. I pretty much like most subjects. I looked forward to history and I love literature because I love to read. I know that you love to read. Enjoyed science. Math was okay. I mean, I was good at math, but I wasn't as interested in math. I just recognized it was sort of something you needed to know. And I like to get involved with a lot of, community service kind of projects, which gives you a chance to work in teams, play some sports, all that good stuff.
So what led you to become a writer and a civil engineer?
When I was in high school, I remember meeting with counselors, and we also had career days and that type of thing. I don't know if I knew exactly that I wanted to be a civil engineer, but I thought, I don't want to be stuck in an office all day. And then I had been exposed to the idea of building bridges, building structures, and I liked the idea of working outside and improving things, and I was also very interested in the environment in general. So I wasn't quite sure. And at some point you just say, you know what, I think this is the right track for me, and I'm going to finish it, I'm going to give it a try. After I went to Villanova as a civil engineer, it became more clear. I became more aware of water resources. We did a lot of studying about that. Wastewater treatment, water treatment, protecting natural waterways, and that really caught my interest. And water resources is kind of a nice blend of engineering and science. In those days, they didn't have environmental engineering, but if they did, I would have picked environmental engineering. They do have that now.
So how did you delve into writing?
When I started working, I recognized I still had an interest in writing, but I thought it'd be kind of a jump to go from engineer to creative writing. So I signed up for journalism. I thought that could be really helpful in my existing career because a part of what we need to do is to communicate our mission, all the things we're working on. So I got my master's in journalism, and then the water department started a public affairs division, which was an easy transition for me to move into because I had the engineering background and I also had the journalism background. And that's where I am now, doing education and communication for the department.
More specifically, what does a civil engineer do?
There are lots of different types of civil engineering jobs. I'll give you a few examples from the water department. Some of our engineers design infrastructure, so the sewers that go into the street, underneath the street, and the water mains. So the water mains are what deliver treated drinking water to homes and businesses. We do have a whole design team that decides when do we need to replace some of the aging systems? Do we need to make those systems larger? So that means you have to understand the hydraulics. Those systems are connected to pumping stations, to treatment facilities, and so they also design those components too. Because even when you have a finished plant, you need to maintain it, you need to upgrade it. But you also have engineers in the department that do something new too. We have what we call green infrastructure design. These green infrastructures can look like a rain garden, can be a porous street, a vegetated swale. So they're systems that look natural. And so when you look at them, you don't think they're engineered systems, but they are. They have natural elements on top, but they often have infrastructure beneath. So they're capturing, storing, allowing the water to infiltrate into the soil. And then we have engineers who also just do a lot of research and study. So we look at water resources. They do computer simulations of how much flow comes through a river, water quality sampling, what kind of chemical pollutants, what kind of wildlife do we have, how healthy is the ecosystem around our waterways. So they study the mixture of engineering and science. So there's a lot of different types of engineering or civil engineering jobs that you can tackle.
For someone that's in high school like me, what can I do right now to give myself an edge if I want to go into the field of civil engineering?
Make sure you get good grades. That's the number one thing you need to do, and particularly you want to get good grades in the math and the sciences for the engineering component. intern for an engineering firm. You get to see what some of that stuff looks like. There's volunteer opportunities, people who are doing cleanups, working on community centers, or putting playgrounds in. All that has an engineering component.
Is there a certain type of personality good for a civil engineer?
I mean, I think there's sort of a stereotype that engineers are kind of serious and boring, but that's not true at all. We have some shy people. We also have people who are very outgoing, so there's not a typical personality. It's a misperception that you can't be a scientist or you can't be an engineer and you can't have an artistic side, because I work with a lot of people who are engineers and they paint or they do some sorts of crafts. So I think most people need to have a diversity of things in order to be whole.
How did you merge creative writing and civil engineering?
So actually, I try to keep those two separate, just so I'm not daydreaming at work.
Like a superhero switch. You know?
Right. It is sort of like that superhero switch. So during the day, I'm a water department employee. At the end of the day, I might go for a run, and then I'm thinking about the story I'm working on. And then the more you get into a story that you're writing, the characters do become more real for you. So sometimes they intrude. You know, sometimes you might be doing something, and they remind you of you. Yeah, you're doing something, you're like, oh, what would Rose be doing at that point?
So you just take inspiration from everywhere.
You do, yeah.
So what inspired the book Contagion?
Around that time, the water department, we were working on the Fairmont Waterworks, working to raise some funding to restore, to create an education center there. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of marry my interest in historical fiction with an opportunity to raise awareness about the waterworks and the history of the waterworks so that people would be more prone to give money.
Was it hard finding your first job? Better yet, how did you get so high up in your job?
Oh, high up. Well, so I'm the general manager of public affairs, but that took a long time. I've been with the department for 30 years. When I was a senior at Villanova, the water department came and we were interviewing potential employees, and that's how I became a civil engineer with the Philadelphia Water Department. When I started, I was in construction, sort of an inspector, and I did that for 6 years. And I took a number of civil engineering tests to get more of a supervisory management position. Then when I moved to the public affairs division, that also provided some opportunities for growth. And after some time, the manager retired and the people knew me and knew my work, so I was offered the opportunity to take the position. So it may not always be initially easy to get the job that you want, but the job that you take is a stepping stone. At least you're getting some good experience. You build up your resume, and then while you're working, you continually look to see, is there another job that would be a better fit for you?
What's the most challenging thing about your job?
And I guess the most challenging would be that you don't have all the money in the world in order to do all the things you recognize need to be done tomorrow, and not enough time to do it all at once either. We have the things we have to do, our core mission, making sure that we treat the water, clean wastewater, manage stormwater. That's sort of the basics you have to do. But there's always other things that you want to do. Additional construction projects. We want to be able to replace our water mains and sewers more quickly, but you have to balance that with how much money the agency has versus what your customers can afford.
What is your favorite thing about your job?
What I like about working for the city, I really like the public service component. In some ways, often, when you work for government, we're seen to be kind of slow. But the water department, we're all about making sure that the water is protected to the best of our ability, that naturally the fish and the ecosystems can thrive, but that we also take it and treat it and get it to our customers so it's top quality, it's safe, and it's reliable. And doing that, you feel like you really are making a difference in people's lives, and I think that part is really important. Well, it was really great meeting you today.
Me too.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for the great interview.
I really enjoyed it.
Keep reading.